Hello and welcome to the Lyman Wolf Podcast. I am your host, Raceland, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Nate. What's going on, bud?
Not much. How about you?
I'm thinking it's a throwback kind of podcast today. We're going to throw it back all the way back to the 1980s. How familiar are you with the 80s? I mean, we're both children of the 90s, so we didn't live the era, but how familiar are you?
I'm kind of familiar with the last, 50 decades before my birth because my parents really fed me a ton of media from all of it.
And they just like, Nate, you're going to enjoy what I enjoyed.
Yeah, I was one of the few kids in my class, even in high school and middle school, who knew who Abbott and Costello even was, which just made me feel very sad.
And they're just over there like, what a weird kid.
Yeah, my teacher's like, yeah, they're a great comedian duo. And I'm like, right? And all my other classmates are like, who the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, this isn't, like people from the 90s.
Yeah, what the fuck? So yeah,
you're over here like, yo, remember Eddie Murphy's stand-up? And they're like, Eddie Murphy, the guy from like Haunted Mansion?
Yeah, I have all of his comedy specials on DVD.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's stand-up is like pinnacle 80s comedy.
They're amazing. So yeah, I'm fairly familiar with the 80s, at least pop culture wise.
Yeah.
So
for me growing up, I'm like I said, we're both children of the 90s. I was born in early 90s, and I grew up watching 80s movies. Like 80s movies are my favorite, like I guess I would say genre, but like time period of movies. Like I do like the newer stuff, and the 90s had great movies and stuff, but like I loved 80s movies. I grew up on like 80s action movies, and that not so much comedy. It was more action movies. I loved 80s action movies. So on our list, it's gonna be a lot of like I guess silly action movies. Not like slapsticky comedy, but like it's like one of those like there's action involved, but they're doing it in a really stupid way.
Yeah, for me, I feel like the 80s were really good for cult classics.
Oh, absolutely. Most of my list is a cult classic.
Like not well known, but the people who do know it, they are diehard fans of it.
Like you mentioned that movie and they're like, oh, and then you mentioned something else, like, what are you talking about? What is that?
Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. 80s is a really good decade for movie. But then again, I really like pretty much, I have not seen a decade that I haven't liked a movie from.
I have. Basically anything before the 70s is pretty garbaggio for me.
It's hit and miss. Like I said, Abbott and Costello movies were before the 70s. So
I know, and you say that now, people are like, "Who the hell is that?"
I love those movies.
Anyway, if you can't tell, we're doing our favorite movies of the 1980s, and we're gonna get into this in a minute. But Nate, you said that this is a spoiler podcast, correct?
Yes, we are going to go into why we like these movies.
So if you have not seen the movies, we'll give you a few seconds to pause the podcast before we get into spoilers, because if you want to watch these movies without being spoiled, you better pause the podcast and come back.
Also, we will have timestamps so that you can jump to the next topic. Or
right.
Movie.
It'll be on if you're listening on YouTube. If you're on Apple Pod or Spotify, sorry.
What are you even doing?
No, we like those people. Those people bring us listens and can bring money in.
I guess.
So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. This was my pick. So if you're cool with it, can I start with my first pick?
No, go ahead.
All right.
Do you want to do honorable mentions real quick to knock them out?
Sure, we'll do honorable mentions first. I'll start with I only got 5 of them because... Okay, I want to... Real quick, Nate. My list, I have my own personal list on my phone of all of my favorite 80s movies, and I have over 40 movies. And that is not including... And on my list, it's not including animated movies. So none of my picks, even on my top 40 list... None of them are animated because I figured we'd save those for like if we ever do a Disney list or something like that. So nothing animated. These are all just hit movies from the 80s. And so my honorable mentions, I'm going to go off right off the bat. These are so hard to say honorable mentions because they deserve better than honorable
Yeah,
mention.
no, I understand. I have two types of honorable mentions for me. So
Yeah. So my first honorable mention is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It came out in 1989. That was my introduction to Keanu Reeves. And that movie is just timeless. I love that movie so much. I feel like I'm going to be mentioning stuff on your top 5, and you just have to be quiet so we can go over it.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Highly possible.
Then the next honorable mention for me is The Lost Boys in 1987. Did you ever see The Lost Boys?
Yes.
I love that movie. That's like...
The vampires.
Yeah, that's like pinnacle 80s vampire movie right there. I love that. If you don't know much about me, I'm a big stan for vampires. I love vampire stuff.
And I'm a big stan for werewolves.
Yeah, so we're like literally opposites. We always argue, like, I think vampires are obviously the better choice than werewolves. But that's just fact. But, you know, this is the pinnacle 80s vampire movie. Then we got Eddie Murphy's Coming to America in 1988. That movie, the comedy gold. And I am actually quite pleased at the sequel that came out in like 2020 or 2021 or whatever, whenever it came out recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie, of course, it's not as good as the original, but it's still a good movie. I don't know why.
It still holds up.
Yeah, it got pretty mixed reviews, at least like at my work and stuff, like people I talked to. A lot of people didn't like it.
The people I would talk to either really liked it or thought it was very, very
boring.
Woke.
Yeah, it was kind of woke, but that's okay.
And I'm like, get your head out of the 80s. It is a movie that kept the spirit of the previous one while updating itself for the current audience.
Right.
Like, and that is almost perfection in that regard. Right.
Then my last two honorable mentions were like painful not to put in my top 5 because I've seen these movies so many times.
I have a couple like that.
1980s The Blues Brothers it's just pains my soul to put that not in top 5.
All right, that I can say is in my personal honorable mentions.
Cool.
So that's good.
And then this one almost overtook number 5, but number 5 is just like so gold that I can't overthrow it, and that is The Breakfast Club of 1985.
And that is in my, of course, honorable mentions.
Yeah, The Breakfast Club is like, when you say 80s movies, The Breakfast Club is usually one of the movies that people think of immediately. So yeah, those are my personal honorable mentions. Nate, what about you? What's your honorable mentions?
So I'll start with the obvious honorable mentions first.
What do you mean by obvious? So like
the ones that are like the masses like they have.
So these are not your personal honorable mentions. These are just like what the people say. Obviously, are like honorable mentions.
I would obviously recommend them, but I have others that I would.
Now, here's my question for this personal mass honorable mention: have you seen all these movies?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the movies that are in any of these lists, I have seen.
I figured. I just making sure.
So we've got Batman. 1989,
and that is the oh my god, I just drew a blank on his freaking name. Michael Keaton Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that movie a bunch of times.
That is a legendary movie.
As much as I love that movie, it's still not my favorite Batman, but that's another discussion.
Then we got Ghostbusters 1984.
See, for me, Ghostbusters, it's a good movie, but it's one of those movies that are just kind of like
No, I really, again, all these movies I really like, and it pains me not to have these in my list, but I
think I put on my personal list, I think I put Ghostbusters at like number like 26, like something like that.
Ghostbusters would probably be in my like top 20.
Yeah, the top 20, maybe around there.
But again, though, that's just because there's just a lot of really good movies. Like, it's not
and yet, when we started this podcast, you're like, oh, I can't even think of any 80s movies.
Because I didn't realize they were in the... Again, I have absorbed so much media from numerous decades that I get them blended together.
Yeah, when I suggested this podcast title, you were just like, Rayson, I don't even know if I can make a top 5. There's not many good 80s. I'm like, Not many good 80s movies.
I didn't say there's not that many good 80s. It's just I said I couldn't think of many 80s movies. Thankfully, Google helped me out by telling me the dates of some of my favorite movies. So then we've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981.
Oh, there you go. That is the original, right?
No, that is the sequel.
Sequel.
It's
No,
the prequel.
the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Are you talking?
Isn't it?
No, Raiders of the Lost Ark
Temple
is the
of Doom.
original. Temple of Doom is
Temple
the
is the
sequel.
sequel,
And then there
prequel
is
thing.
The Last Crusade, and then Crystal
Yeah.
Skull.
Temple of Doom was the sequel prequel because it came after, but it's supposed to be set before.
If I remember right, isn't Raiders of the Lost Ark, not Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Last Crusade, is that 80s or did that come out in the 90s? I want to say that was 90s.
I think early 90s.
Yeah, okay.
Like
but
really early, like either 90 or 91, 92, something.
So Raiders of the Lost Ark was what, 1990 or 1980 what, 1? 2?
Yes. 81.
81, okay. I just recently rewatched all those movies.
Yeah.
Except for Crystal Skull, I haven't rewatched that yet.
This next one is one that I just recently watched.
For the first time?
No, I've watched it before.
Oh, okay.
It's actually one of my favorite franchises.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Future.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
1985.
iconic 80s movie.
Yes. Plus, it like time travel. I love time travel movies.
I as well love time travel.
Then we got Die Hard in 1988.
Yep, that is a great movie as well.
RoboCop 1987.
I have never seen that movie.
I highly recommend it.
I know you've been recommending it for years.
Yes, it is a great movie. Great sci-fi action. The sequel movies, while not as great, and some people think let the franchise down, and I sort of agree. And like I think the last one, they were still entertaining. And then we got Arthur, 1981.
Arthur.
It is a movie about a very entitled, spoiled rich guy.
You said Arthur, and I just thought of the children's cartoon Arthur.
Yes,
And I'm like,
I figured.
I was like, is that 80s?
Yeah, I saw the look on your face. We're not doing shows. We are doing movies.
I was very confused. And then I was like, was there a movie about King Arthur from the 80s? Like called Arthur?
I mean, there probably was, honestly. But no, Arthur is a story about a rich, spoiled, bratty guy who like learns that money's not everything and love is actually a very important thing in life.
Oh, so it's basically Trading Places.
No. Trading Places, while also an amazing movie, I love its connection with Coming to America.
Yeah.
They are very, very different premises.
Oh, okay. Alright.
So then my personal honorable mentions.
Oh boy.
I'll start with, and this is 1 through 10. Start with number 10, Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension from 1984.
Pretty sure you're the only person who's ever mentioned that. I don't even know what that is.
That is a very wacky movie about just a collection of characters fighting creatures from the eighth dimension. It has
sounds really corny.
all of the it has Jeff Goldblum in it.
Okay, already better. It's already looking good.
The guy from RoboCop is in it. You guys see stuff. Nah, I just don't remember the actor's name. It's just a really hilarious action movie that seems to take itself very seriously, but it's not. So then we've got Spaceballs, 1987.
Love that movie.
Weird Science from 1985.
I've seen that one. I've only seen it once, but I do remember. I'll watch it. First of all, real quick, little side tangent. Do you know what inspired me to pick this list?
What's that?
Me and my wife have been watching The Goldbergs, which is all set in the 80s.
Okay.
And one of the most recent episodes we watched was the episode about Weird Science. And that sparked I'm like, that movie, I've seen that movie. Dude, we should do a list about 80s movies. And that's what sparked about this list.
Weird Science it's in my top 10.
I'm really hoping when I think of Weird Science, I don't know why this movie always correlates, and I'm hoping it's on your list. When somebody says Weird Science, I also think of War Games.
It is not, but I do agree that it is a good movie.
I don't know why Weird Science and War Games always correlate to each other with me. I guess
War Games,
because they were like both around the same time.
how I feel about War Games is how you feel about Ghostbusters.
Oh, really? See, I like War Games a lot more than Weird Science.
No.
Oh yeah.
Weird Science is.
I would put War Games in my top 20 for sure.
Yeah, Weird Science is in top 10 for me. Like,
I'd even put War Games top 15.
So then the next one is Clue, 1985.
That's a good movie.
This one hurts so much. I wanted to, like, I already made an exception for ties on my main 5. This one would have been my second tie on the top 5.
Really?
Yes, because I just love
Now, if I remember right, Clue, when it came out in the theaters, you could see it in different times, like different theaters in different times, to get different endings.
Yes, and that's one of the things I love about it, because you'd have people going to see the movie coming back and talking with people who saw the movie, and then they're like talking about the ending, and like, what the fuck are you even talking? Did you really go see this movie? Are you just trying to look cool? Like,
you trying to troll me right now?
Yeah.
Before trolling was a thing?
And I just love the marketing for that. And then when you watch, I have it on Blu-ray, and I fucking love that you can just go watch all the endings.
Oh, I don't own it on DVD or Blu-ray or anything. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it is such a unique take on a movie, and I wish more movies would do that, especially mystery movies.
It's one of the few board games that got turned into a movie that actually did well.
Yeah. Plus, it has Tenet.
Who?
Doc Brown.
No, say it again. You cut out.
Christopher Lloyd and Tim Curry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely big names.
Yeah, like 2 great actors in there, and pretty much all of the actors in there hit their roles amazingly.
So what's the next one?
Plus, Legend, 1985.
Legend? What is that?
That is a fantasy romance Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, God.
With Tim Curry voicing the antagonist. And
Man,
Tim
Curry loved the 80s.
He did. And I loved him in the 80s. His voice is astounding for a lot of the roles he played. He plays the personification of evil, which is like this giant bullhorned devil guy that is super over dramatic in how he acts and dresses. I'm like, this is amazing. And Tom Cruise plays as Tarzan when he's a boy, basically.
Nice.
He's like a little wild child that meets a civilized girl.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. When you said you're gonna go over your personal honorable mentions, I thought we'd have a lot more crossovers, and I have almost seen none of these movies.
Yeah, I figured you would not, actually, because they're not in your wheelhouse. The next one I know you have seen.
Okay.
Beetlejuice, 1988.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I remember your take on it.
Yeah, if you wanna get a deep dive into that, we have an episode on the channel. You can go check it out.
And then the next one was the Blues Brothers.
Yay! A good movie on your list, Nate.
The one after that, Akira, 1988, and the only animated film on my list.
Okay.
The reason being is not only do I really like the movie, it is also one of, like, it innovated animation. Hand-drawn animation on that and cell shading in it is, or not cell shading, I forget the term, but the details that went into making this movie are just amazing. And if anybody who watches it is a fan of it, I highly recommend looking into how it was made, because it just blows your mind and makes you appreciate it all the more.
Nice.
The Thing from 1982.
Okay. Never seen it.
And then Howard the Duck, 1986.
Howard the Duck?
Yes.
I've never seen this movie, but I've heard nothing but terrible things about it.
Exactly. I loved this movie when I was a child. Like an anthropomorphic sarcastic duck that just makes fun of everybody, but like it was really good. I'll admit, as I got older and I watched it, like I kept rewatching it over and over. I do see why people were like, "Ah, this is a shit ass movie," because it does have a lot of questionable shit in it. But I still think it is a very fun movie. The characters and personalities are still hilarious. It just there are like a few moments where it's like, I don't know, I don't feel like that's not a good scene. But that is all of my personal honorable mentions.
Awesome. All right, so I guess we'll just move on to our top 5.
Yes, finally the big reveal.
Oh boy, here we go. So we're gonna start with my number 5. My number 5, like I said, The Breakfast Club was basically tied with this movie, but this one spawned so many sequels, and they're all really funny. It's just a really great comedy from the 80s. I just felt like it had to make number 5, and that is 1984's The Police Academy.
I figured this would be on your list.
Oh, I love basically all the movies. As the movies got like further in the sequels, they got really cornier and worse, obviously.
Yeah, they leaned into the ridiculousness.
So 1984's Police Academy was rated R. It was like they got nudity, sex, drugs, violence and hilarity and stuff like that. And then like by Police Academy, like 4 is PG.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved those movies when I was growing up. So yeah, I completely agree why they would be on your list.
Oh, dude, this is my introduction to Steve Guttenberg.
Okay.
I've seen like Cocoon and other movies of Steve Guttenberg. Oh my god, Steve Guttenberg and stuff, but like nothing tops his role in Police Academy.
Speak while we do.
Shut up. But yeah, Police Academy, number 5. I love that movie. I've seen it so many times. I remember growing up watching it with my mom for the first time. I was probably like 12, 13. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, this is a funny movie. You should watch it. I guess she forgot that there was nudity in it. And she was like,
Yeah. I am a massive prude when it comes to watching movies with my parents. Sex scenes and nudity is a no-go for me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're going to turn this off.
Yeah. But, yeah, it is... they are so good. Such good movies.
Who is your favorite character on Police Academy?
I'd say the main character, actually. The first movie.
Steve Guttenberg's character?
Yeah.
What was that? Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank on his name. His, like, character.
But then again, I really like him in almost everything he plays.
Right.
So...
I know Tackleberry. I know, Tackleberry was that. What was Steve Guttenberg's character's name? Mahoney. It was Mahoney.
Yes, Mahoney. You said it. It clicked.
Yeah, it was Mahoney. I really love. What was the guy who did all the sounds? His name's Michael Winslow, if I remember right. But what was the character's name?
I'm not sure, but I know he's in Spaceballs.
Yeah, he's in Spaceballs. But yeah, that dude was amazing. Probably one of the best characters in the entire movie, dude. And what everything they pulled over on Lieutenant Harris. Oh man, that Lieutenant Harris is also a great character. Every character in this movie is great.
They are. His name was LeVar Jones.
That's right. It's Jones. That's it. And then you had Hightower, who was afraid to drive, and.
Yeah, who was a massive, like, intimidating character, but he was such a nice guy.
And then I forget the little like black chick's name, but the one who's like really scared of everything was like, yeah, "Can you guys stop?" And then she like, "Get on the ground, dirtbag!"
Oh yeah, like she flipped personalities when she did her bit job. Like, it was really good. And I believe her name was Officer Hooks.
That's it. It was Officer Hooks. Man, I need to rewatch that movie. 100%.
Tackleberry.
Oh, you know what I just realized? It's not on my honorable mention, and it should be like my number 6. I just totally didn't think of this. Groundhog Day.
Yes.
That's from the 80s. For some reason, I thought it was in the 90s, but no, that's the 80s, right?
I believe you are correct.
Man.
And I, too, was thinking it was in the 90s.
Oh, dude, Dude, I would honestly put Groundhog Day number 5. What a missed opportunity there.
Nope, it is 90s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
1993.
Okay. Never mind.
I was
Scratch that.
I was like, that is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Right.
How is that not on my list?
It would have been like number 2 if it was like from the 80s.
So yeah, I'm like, that should have been on my list. There has to be a reason.
Yeah.
Hold
Okay.
on.
So yeah, number 5 for me is Police Academy. I think we can both agree that is a fantastic franchise in general.
Yes. Highly recommend it to anybody. And
do not watch with your parents on the first one.
I mean, not everybody is as prudish as we are when it comes to watching shit with their parents.
So what's your number 5, Nate?
So my number 5 has actually already been mentioned.
Okay.
In the honorable mentions list on your end. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I saw your face. I was expecting it to be on there. I thought it'd be higher. I thought it'd be higher for sure, but
so actually, again, when you first mentioned this was my number 1 because it was one of the few ones I could think of that was in the 80s. I was like, oh, okay, easy, Bill and Ted. Like, that is one of my all-time favorite movie franchises ever. Obviously, it's going to be number 1.
Question: what did you think of the new 2020 third movie that they made?
I liked it a lot.
It was okay. It was kind of a letdown, but it was still pretty funny.
See, I didn't even think of it as a letdown at all. It kept the spirit of the original characters and the feel of the original movies. It introduced new characters. It even paid homage to Rufus. Like,
I enjoyed the movie, but it's definitely the weakest of the 3.
It ticked off all of them, and I liked the sort of message that I got from it. I don't really know if it was the message that they were going for, that the Wild Stallions would create the perfect music. Like, that they did. And it's just the way they created it was not the way everyone thought it would be. It would be that they created their daughters, and their daughters are the perfect music.
So what did you like? What made you pick this as number 5 for the original movie?
I'm a huge fan of buddy movies. This is
like buddy cop movie type of movies.
Well, just buddy movies. Like, you've got, obviously, Lethal Weapon is a buddy cop movie, but you also have Bill and Ted. You have Blues Brothers. You have
The Lost Boys. I mean, could kind of count.
Could kind of count, I guess. But yeah, just buddy movies in general. Just friendship. I'm a big fan of friendship.
I love friendship. I'm a shonen protagonist.
Yeah, it's the reason I like shonen manga so much, because they explain every impossibility with the power of friendship.
I can always defeat anybody with the power of friendship.
Yeah, like, you hurt my friend. Yeah. So Bill and Ted was like,
hey, I mean, Bill and Ted are kind of shonen protagonists as well. Like, they defeat anything with the power of friendship and music.
Yeah, well, also, they were friendship goals when I was a kid. Like, I wanted a friend like they have. Which, I mean, is impossible, really, because they practically share the same brain cell.
They're not the brightest people.
Yeah. Air guitar. Fuck it. Like, they introduced me to the stupid concept of an air.
Were they the first ones to do air guitars?
I don't think so.
I mean, air guitars are pretty old.
Yeah, I can't imagine they are.
And this is 1989. This is literally the end of the 80s. So there's no way that they introduced it.
If somehow they are the ones who introduced that
maybe they are. Maybe they
they
time travel back in time to introduce the air guitar.
Obviously.
With the very outdated phone booth that kids do not know what it is.
And I love at the beginning of the movie, they go through a logical paradox as to why they cannot be successful. They have to get Eddie Van Halen to join their band. They need to send a music video to Eddie Van Halen to join their band. They have to learn to play their instruments to make the music video to send to Eddie Van Halen to join their band. they need Eddie Van Halen to join their band to teach them how to play music. Like, it is a illogical process that obviously will never work.
But my favorite person that they had join their band was Socrates.
Really? So
No, I'm just kidding. I just love that they call him Socrates. It's so funny.
Plus,
every time I watch that movie, he goes, "Yo, what's going on, Socrates?" I'm like, "Oh, it's so wrong."
Yeah. And he didn't join the band, Raceland.
I know. I just wanted to mention.
How dare you?
I just wanted to mention Socrates because Socrates is so funny to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, Socrates, especially because Socrates answers to it. Like, he's like, "Oh, well, I guess my name is Socrates now." And then,
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
The way he reacts to modern civilization, like, he becomes a horny teenager. He just like, yeah. Hangs out with Billy the Kid, and he's just like, let's try to rustle up us some women.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, Socrates? Be philosophical, bro.
He is philosophical. He wants to get some girls.
Yeah. The answer to life
is girls.
So yeah, Excellent Adventure is just an amazing movie.
Agreed.
And I don't think it is what inspired me to just, like, it led me down the path of time travel movies, but I would not be surprised if it did.
Oh, there's a movie on my list that led me down the path of time travel movies.
So that is my fifth pick.
Okay. My number 4 is a movie that inspired me to love, like, this genre of movies, and that is the 1984 Karate Kid.
Okay, I figured this would be on there.
Oh yeah, I love the Karate Kid so much. The Karate Kid, all 3 of them, all 3 movies, great. 4th one, there's a 4th. Have you seen the 4th Karate Kid? The 4th Karate Kid is when
it's forgettable.
Yeah, because it's not Daniel LaRusso. It's I forget the actress's name, but it's just this girl that Mr. Miyagi basically trains, and it's like a standalone thing. Have you even seen that movie?
I think I watched it on VHS when it originally came out.
Yeah, but
and then never again, and do not remember a single thing about it.
No, but the original Karate Kid, even the sequel, like all these movies are great, but the Karate Kid is like so iconic for the 80s. I'm surprised it wasn't on your iconic list.
I figured it would be on your main list. There's not even it's going to get mentioned. I know it's Raceland. It's going to get mentioned.
The Karate Kid, to me, is what made me love, like, karate style movies. It's what made me I took martial arts when I was, like, really little, like 9, 10, something like that, and it was because I wanted to be like the Karate Kid.
Same, but not the same reason. I did take martial arts as well, but not because of the Karate Kid.
Now, have you seen How I Met Your Mother, correct?
Yes.
What is your take on Barney's thing about how Billy Zabka is the true Karate Kid and that Daniel LaRusso stole it from him?
I think it is an interesting theory. I don't agree, but I will say, like, thinking about it, I don't remember the rules ever stating that the kick was an illegal move and that he stole the title. But, like, it was definitely an out of left field move, which, I mean,
the crane kick?
Yeah, like, it is.
Come on, man. That crane kick was, they even say in the beginning of the match, they say, don't they, I think they say no groin and no hits to the face, and he just straight up kicks him right in the face.
I don't think he says no hits to the face.
Does he?
Again, I haven't watched it in
I haven't
forever.
watched it in a while either.
So I don't know. I feel like I tried looking this up because we had this talk back when we first met, and you tried to convince me that this movie was, like, all wrong because
I did
they
that
had the
mostly as
wrong
a troll, to be
protagonist.
honest. I did that as a troll mostly.
Yeah, and that's when I learned I cannot argue with you because you will dig your heels into the wrongest of answers.
But yeah, I love this movie. I love everything about it. Mr. Miyagi's great. Daniel Russo's great. Billy Zabka. I keep calling him Billy. That's the actor's name. Johnny Lawrence. Johnny Lawrence. Plays a great villain. Like he's the guy you want to hate.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have this small, like, little mini series going on now.
Oh no! You mean the intro to this movie spawned my favorite show on Netflix, Cobra Kai? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Cobra Kai is literally one of my favorite shows ever created. I think I put I put it top 3.
You and several other people have like tried to get me to watch that.
Dude, as much as I love Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid and the sequels, I think Cobra Kai is better. Like,
Karate Man is superior.
Shut up. But no, Cobra Kai, Nate, you should check it out. Anybody who hasn't seen it, watch it. It's on Netflix. Great. They're amazing. But yeah, I love this whole franchise. The Karate Kid franchise as a whole, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that is my number 4. Love it. Need to check it out, Nate. Watch Cobra Kai.
Understandable. Okay. Not going to, probably.
I hate you, Nate.
Because I don't really care about Karate Kid. But
blasphemy.
I respect that you do.
No, you don't.
It's nice.
You don't respect
nice
that at all.
Root for the villain. So is that all? That's all you want to say about yours?
Yeah.
Then my number 4 is a tie.
Oh God.
It is a tie between Back to the Future 2 from 1989 and Highlander 1986.
A movie I've never seen.
That doesn't surprise me, and it still crushes my soul. So
what is Highlander?
Highlander, well, I'll first talk about the movie we both know.
Okay.
Back to the Future 2, that is, like, in my opinion, the pinnacle of the franchise. It incorporates...
It's a great movie. I would not say pinnacle, but yeah.
It incorporates parts of the first one flawlessly, and then leads into the third one, again, flawlessly.
I agree.
And it shows the most of the time travel mechanic within the franchise.
I will agree with all that.
So, all 3 of those combined, that is what makes it my favorite of the franchise, because it basically elevates the franchise seems to be doing to the next level. But yeah, so that would be why that one. Highlander, on the other hand, Highlander is... There's certain... Like, I lived under a rock.
What is Highlander?
Highlander is about immortals. Killing each other to gain immortality.
See, I thought Highlander was a TV show.
Highlander was a TV show. It was an offshoot of the movie franchise.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. When you say Highlander,
like Cobra Kai.
When you say Highlander, I just immediately think of the show, which I also never saw, but I know it ran in the 90s.
Yes, the Highlander show is like Cobra Kai to Karate Kid for Highlander.
Really good.
It wasn't bad. It was decent.
Well, if it's Cobra Kai, it would have been like superior than the movie.
I simply meant that it is an offshoot from the movie, Graceland. But no, Highlander 1 is like to me anyway, the peak of the Highlander franchise. Like, they peaked with their first, it kind of went downhill from there, but that's not saying they're bad, that's just saying they never quite reached the greatness of the first. And it is about a Scottish warrior who is like all pumped up to go into a fight with his clansmen against this other rival clan. They're like, yeah, they get there, he dies. He gets killed by the like most gothic emo looking ancient warrior ever. And then everyone's like, oh no, he's dead. Everyone's super sad. And then he comes back to life, and then they're like, instead of being happy he's alive, they're like, fuck that witch, get him out of the clan and banish him.
Get out of here.
Yeah, like, I think maybe 2 of his clansmen are like all really sad that he's having to leave, and like they understand that okay, he's a witch, he's got to go, but they're happy he's okay, and they're like, just go, bro, go, get out of here before they beat you and shit. Just go, hurry. Like, it is so sad to be run off by your family. And then it jumps time periods back and forth. Like, it has the present day, which is what the main aspect of the movie is. That would be annoying. If not done well, it would be. They do this very well.
I don't know. Anytime they jump between periods back and forth, I've never seen it done like well.
Highlander would be an exception. You need to watch it because that is the case for it.
I will watch it when you watch Cobra Kai.
Okay. I've already watched the first 2 episodes, so...
Oh, done. 2 out of 5 seasons of Cobra Kai.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Van Helsing Ultimate. What was that?
Van Helsing Ultimate?
Helsing Ultimate.
Continue,
you watched
Nate.
How many episodes out of the season? Anyway, so Highlander main point is in the present day, or the 80s, 90s, whatever.
The present day back then.
Yeah. And all of the time periods are his memories of meeting characters you then meet in the present day. One of them is Sean Connery, and this is perhaps one of my favorite roles of Sean Connery because it is his worst role ever.
Okay. Doesn't make any sense.
Like, not like his worst role as in he did do a terrible... It's just terrible casting. Okay. I liked him as the character, but he should, like...
Isn't Sean Connery the guy from... he's from The Last Crusade, right? He's the dad?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that's who we were talking about.
He is... The character is a Spaniard. An immortal Spaniard who is bonded to...
And they chose Sean Connery.
Yes. The Scottish accent Sean Connery, who looks nothing like a Spaniard at all. They picked him. And he does not do a good job with a Spanish accent. He just sticks with what he knows.
Because he's Scottish.
He sticks with his Scottish accent. And I'm just like, to be fair, when I first watched the movie, I didn't even realize he was Spanish. Like, I didn't realize until I got home, I'm like, is this character Spanish? Like, what the fuck? Like, it was hysterical when I realized. Yeah. And he just... But the movie itself is great. The characters are great. The time periods, it makes you fall in love. Like, they're just
I'm seeing a theme with your list of all these time travel stuff. It seems like the 80s really, like, leaned into time travel. Like, you're going to explain what the future's going to be like. Yeah!
Yeah, they had very grand plans for the future.
It's going to be like the Jetsons. In the future, everything's going to be flying cars and robots. Yeah!
We have let them down, seriously.
Wait till the new millennium when 2000 hits. Man, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's 2023, guys. It's a big disappointment.
They got the crazy part right.
Yeah.
In Highlander, it is what got me into my love of, like, sword fights and whatnot, because that's how all of the Highlanders fight, no matter what period they go into, they fight with that period of swords.
Getting some big Kirito vibes.
I mean, yeah. Because there can only be one. There can only be one immortal among them all. The reason it's called the Highlander is because the main protagonist is from the Highlands, so he is the Highlander of the immortals.
Gotcha.
But he wields a katana because he gained it from one of his travels, and I'm like, I respect it. Like, it also shows homage to his former friends and allies and enemies and whatnot. The only way a Highlander or an immortal can die is if they are beheaded by another immortal. Or really just beheaded, really, because I think Highlander gets like during the French Revolution, he's about to be beheaded, and they're like, "We got to get you out of here." So whenever they get beheaded, they die. The end goal for it, which I believe gets retconned in the next movie, actually, which is when the downslide starts. Mortality. Whoever kills the rest of the immortals finally gains their mortality and can actually live their life normally. They don't have to watch all the loved ones they make die.
Nate, this sounds like a very complicated movie.
Really, it's not. It's the
way you're describing it,
the franchise. The franchise is complicated.
I thought we were focusing on the movie.
No, I am. I'm just saying the franchise is what complicates the movie. The movie itself, not complicated. It's people kill each other, behead each other. Cool sword fights. There you go. That's the basic premise of this.
So that's why you like this movie. It's just action-y.
Yeah, and
action-y time travel.
Not even time travel, just immortality. Like, the only time travel really is just his memories. You're going back into time, seeing his memories of when he was in a time period. And I just loved seeing the different time periods and seeing the same character dressing up in different styles. It's kind of what got me into my love of wanting to dress up in like Renaissance fair kind of stuff. So that is both of my picks for number 4.
Your dual picks.
My dual picks.
All right, well, that's going to move me on to my number 3. And this one isn't really a dual pick like you did. This is just I have to mention the sequel because it's both in the 80s. And This is my very favorite Eddie Murphy movie of all time. And that is Beverly Hills Cop in 1984.
Okay.
And then the sequel, Beverly Hills Cop 2 in 1987.
Again, I was going to put this on my honorable mentions, but I was like, you know what?
Raceland's going to mention it.
Raceland's got this.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop is, in my opinion, the greatest Eddie Murphy movie ever made. It is the perfect, like, you mentioned earlier, buddy cop style comedy Eddie Murphy movie. Like, Eddie Murphy plays the I don't listen to the rules type of cop. I'm just here to get the revenge for my friend's death kind of thing. And he takes down this entire crime syndicate basically with himself and like 2 beat cops that nobody respects.
I like that how you tied that in with the buddy cop thing, with the buddy cops being the side characters.
I know. But yeah, it is. There's nothing like I can't even find anything flawed about these movies. Even the third one, which is supposedly the weakest of them all, still an amazing movie. I didn't put it on it because it came out in the 90s, but I love all 3 movies. Everything about these movies. I've seen Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3 probably as much as I've seen my number 1 pick. I've rewatched these movies no less than 10 times.
I actually agree with this. This, like, Beverly Hills, I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie of his.
That goes to The Adventures of Pluto Nash, right?
No, but I do actually really like that movie.
I do too. I do too. That movie is so terrible that it's great.
Yeah, but no, we're not. I'm not going to get into
that.
Sticking to Beverly Hills. It is, in my opinion, while it's not my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, it is the perfect Eddie Murphy movie.
Without going to too much of a side tangent, what is your favorite Eddie Murphy movie?
That's a tough one. I'm going to say maybe, just off the top of my head, Life.
Oh, really? That's surprised it wasn't like Trading Places or something.
So I've noticed the theme when it comes to like my favorite comedian movies. I like my favorite comedian movies actually be serious movies.
I'm the opposite. I don't want that.
My favorite Robin Williams film is Bicentennial Man. That's depressing as shit. My favorite Jim Carrey movie, The Truman Show.
Okay, that one is understandable though.
But I'm like, take my favorite comedians and put them into dramatic roles. I'm loving it. Like, that is my theme.
But for Beverly Hills Cop, why, for you personally, why is it not higher on your list?
Oh, simply because Okay, so as I explained earlier, it is not my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, but it, in my opinion, is the perfect Eddie Murphy movie because
That doesn't
they
make any
do not.
sense.
It does make sense if you think about it through my logic. They don't. Axel Foley is Eddie Murphy. There is not a character Axel Foley.
I know,
It's-
which is why I like it so much, because I love... My favorite genre of Eddie Murphy is the 80s. Like, that's pretty understandable. But Eddie Murphy's comedies coming out, his movies are great. Everything he played, every role he was himself. Which is what I loved. Because I love Eddie Murphy as a person. He's so funny.
See, I disagree because all the other movies is Eddie Murphy. Yeah, he has his type of humor and all that stuff, which what got him into the role most likely. But he does have little parts that are the character. Axel Foley is 100% Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
They just are like, okay, now you're a cop. Like that's it. And he doesn't even he doesn't act like a cop
No.
other than he has a badge and handcuffs.
Hey, when he's in the strip club, he's a pretty damn good cop. When he's like, oh, there's some guys casing the place. Let's quietly walk over there, and I'm just going to take them down all by myself, and then you guys take credit for it.
Yeah. It is 100% just an Eddie Murphy movie with the setting of him being a cop.
Hey,
and that's why
you can't
it
deny
is
that the banana in the tailpipe part was so funny.
hilarious.
And
But
then the other cops are like, here, you can wear these. And they're like banana nose glasses. And he's like, for protection.
That's why it is, in my opinion, the perfect Eddie Murphy movie, but not my favorite movie that has Eddie Murphy in it.
And now that Axel F song is so damn iconic that even my son, who's only like 7 years old, knows that song because it's been remixed and redone so many times. Yeah, everybody knows that song.
Yeah, that is a very common tune.
That is the most 80s song you could ever make.
Possible, yeah. When it comes to music, I am definitely not a savant or anything. So,
but yeah, it's that movie's great. There's flawless. There's nothing I can even think of that would tarnish that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 3. Is both Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. There is actually supposed to be a new Beverly Hills Cop 4 coming out, I think, this year. They're working on it. And it's going to be set, like, 40 years later?
Okay.
30, 40 years later, something like that. So yeah, I'm excited. Usually these movies are hit or miss, but hey, it's Axel Foley and Beverly Hills Cop. I'm excited.
I mean, Eddie Murphy did a pretty good job with Coming to America, so...
Well, that's our opinion. The internet was mixed.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so we'll probably like the next Beverly Hills.
Probably. So yeah, that's my number 3.
All right, so my number 3 is similar to yours, actually. It is the movie and its sequel.
Okay.
Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2.
Oh.
1985 and 1987.
I've seen the first Teen Wolf, and I thought it was... it was okay. It's not my type of comedy movie.
Teen Wolf will always have a special place in my heart because it is the first werewolf movie where the werewolf is not a fucking bad guy.
Where he belongs. Vampire should be the hero.
Fuck off, Racing. I will also state...
Look at every vampire werewolf movie. The vampires are almost always the hero.
Yeah. It is, like I said, it is the first one that the werewolf is not a bad guy. And it's just, like, in their universe, the werewolf family is just like, yeah, this happens.
And they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, we accept it. And I love how everybody in the world is kind of like, oh, yeah, he's a werewolf. That's no big deal.
Okay.
He's playing basketball. That's cool.
Amazing. Like, they're jerks. The bully from the first one who's like, oh, you're just a dog. And like, whatever. Okay. But the majority of it's just like people, okay,
do you know, there is one thing I remember because I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about iconic things from the 80s. And he mentioned, because he grew up in the 80s, he's like, the scene where he's riding on top of the bus or whatever, or car?
Van.
Van. Okay, he's riding on top of the van and surfing on the van or whatever.
Yeah.
That spawned so many
Iconic.
incidents. No, incidents. People tried to recreate that in real life, and it caused so much mayhem because people are getting hurt and wrecking and stuff like that.
Yes, and I can see that.
Totally can see that.
Because when I watched that, I wanted to do that so desperately.
Why? You're gonna get yourself killed.
I didn't, because I'm not an adventurous person.
It's like Jackass before Jackass came out.
Exactly. Like, I saw that and I was like, man, that would be really cool if me and my buds were just.
Why would that be cool though? Like, I'm on a van. Woo!
Because, Raceland, it was Teen Wolf. Okay, it influenced me.
So stupid.
But not enough to actually do it.
I just can't believe this is your number 3. Like, I think I put this at like number 37.
Oh, you can't believe that a comedy with Michael J. Fox and werewolves.
I know. It makes sense for you, but I feel like the general populace was like, it's an okay movie.
And romance. Like, this is checking off almost everything. And if it had time travel, number 1.
Michael J. Fox's werewolf is actually Marty McFly.
Yeah, like, he's the ancestor to the McFlys. Like, this would have been amazing. No. So, yeah, this also gave me the friendship goal that I didn't want as well. I didn't want Niles as a friend. Fuck that. Because I didn't want a friend who exploits something from me to try to gain popularity. That's not cool.
He's a great friend, man.
Yeah. But overall, it was a great movie about accepting who you are, not getting fooled by people who like you for what you can get for them. And a great movie about just going through changes at a very difficult time in most people's lives, puberty and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a great film. I loved it.
I think for the first time I ever watched this was actually like 16.
Really?
Dude, I watched it for the first time after I watched this for the first time after I met you and you recommended it so much. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Going at it for the first time with
as an adult
eyes.
Yeah.
I can see why maybe you didn't quite like it as much.
Yeah.
Because you've probably already gone past like the, oh wow, this, I can kind of understand where it's coming from kind of aspect.
Yeah. So yeah, is that everything you got to say about that movie?
Yeah, that's it for Teen Wolf.
All
what
right.
would be your number 2?
My number 2 came out in 1988, and it is my very favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah, okay.
And that is the movie Die Hard! Yeah! Best Christmas movie ever made! You knew it was coming.
Yes. So I was actually going to take this off of my honorable mentions because I was like, obviously Raceland is going to say this.
Yeah. You know me.
He talks about this movie. I already pretty much had a good idea of what your top 5 were going to be. I will admit the order has been out of place.
You already know what my number 1 is, but we'll get to that.
But I kept Die Hard. I actually forgot to take Die Hard off of my honorable mentions list. That's why I read it out earlier.
That's all right. But yeah, Die Hard is like the pinnacle of 80s action movies. Like, when I think, what is the best 80s action movie ever made?
Disagree.
This is my opinion. When I think of what is the best 80s action movie ever made, I think Die Hard. Immediately. Bruce Willis is perfect. There's nothing wrong with this movie at all. I keep saying that in every one of these movies, but it's true. Like, I got insanely iconic scenes, one-liners, Christmas themed, everything. I love this movie. I love the characters. Hans Gruber is like one of the best villains ever created in movies. You can't deny that. Come on.
I mean,
Hans Gruber is the reason we got such a good character of Snape, because he did such a good job as Hans Gruber.
I will say that he's a good villain, but he's not really. He would not be in my like top 20 villains.
Okay, so for you, since you're obviously disagreeing with this being so high for me, why is this not higher on your list?
I think mainly because I watched the Die Hard movies out of order.
Oh, that's the Teen Wolf argument for me watching it as an adult.
No, not. I didn't watch it when I was an adult.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying you watched them out of order. That's so. Let me guess. You started with 3 when it was his brother, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, I knew it. Oh,
I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Come on, that basically like soils the first movie because it's like going back to it.
Well, I watched it not realizing that there were even other movies in the Die Hard thing. I was a kid at the time. I wasn't paying attention to sequels.
I know.
And whatnot.
I completely understand. It's just like, that's if you would have watched this for the first time, the number 1, I think you'd have such a different opinion.
Well, no, I really do like Die Hard. The reason why the movie itself kind of just got spoiled for me is
knowing Zeus. He dies.
No, not even not okay. I didn't mean like spoiler as in story point wise.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even make that connection when I was younger. It was Zeus, Samuel Jackson's character.
Oh, and the third one,
I connection between John McCain and Zeus. They are a great buddy duo.
You know, I will say, when I read lists and people talking about the 80s and stuff, and the Die Hard franchise gets brought up, a lot of people say number 3 is their favorite one.
Yeah, it is my favorite because I love mind games and the Simon Says kind of thing that they have John and Zeus do. Love that. I love the comedy between them. I love the dialogue between them.
All right, back to the first movie, dude.
But that is why it is higher, because when I watched Die Hard 1, I kept missing that. I was like, oh, this is good. I wonder what Zeus would have said at this situation.
Nah, see, yeah, you got tainted by the third one, dude. That sucks, dude.
And like, it was a good action film. Like you said, it had all the one line. It was great, but I'm just like,
it's definitely one of the movies that when somebody mentions the 80s, it's one of the first things you think of is Die Hard.
Honestly, because of you, that's not true anymore for me.
Why is that? What do you mean by that?
I don't think of it as an 80s film anymore. I think of it as a fucking Christmas film.
Yeah, I'm doing my job.
And I don't even like I'm on the fence about that. Like it's set during Christmas.
Hey, okay. If Home Alone is considered a Christmas movie, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Except Home Alone is like the whole point of it is during Christmas.
And so Die Hard.
Die Hard.
It's a Christmas party. It's a Christmas party.
Yeah, no, again, that's what I'm saying. If you change that Christmas party to any other kind of party, the movie still works.
Don't work.
If it's a New Year's Eve party, it works. If it's a Valentine's party, it works. If it's just this person's leaving the company, let's have a going away party.
No, it has to be a Christmas movie.
No, it does not have to be a Christmas party at all to make that movie work. Whereas Home Alone, that works because it is a Christmas movie. They're leaving for the holidays. That's it. That is my only argument for it not being a Christmas film. But again, because of you, I now think of it as a Christmas film. You've brainwashed me.
Hell yeah. I'm doing my job right, Nate. But yeah, I love these movies. I love all the Die Hards. Say what you want about the sequels after 3.
No, I agree.
Are all great. They get a little corny after a while, after you get like Die Hard 6. But yeah, they're all really good movies.
The only facet to the like later Die Hard movies is that I miss John McCain being witty and jokerish, like jokester style.
You know, one of the most underrated ones, which I put as like my third favorite Die Hard movie, is the 4th one with Justin Long.
Yeah, that's the one where with his daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great movie.
That's how you can classify all of the Die Hard movies.
The one with his son, the one with his daughter, the one at the airport, the one with the Samuel Jackson.
Wife. Like, you can classify them with the co-character that he is in with.
But yeah, that's my number 2. I love Die Hard. Would never change it. I just love this movie, man. Again,
Okay.
after we get past like Karate Kid, every one of these movies I've seen more than 10 times.
Yeah. I would like to say that 10 times is the limit. I have seen some of these movies hundreds of times. There have been times where I have watched some of these movies like every other week.
I own all of these movies on DVDs, and when I was in my teens and I'd have to stay home from school if I'm sick or something, I just throw these in my DVD player and I just watch these all day.
Yeah, that is my number 1. I watched my number 1 almost every single day.
Wow.
After I watched it, I was obsessed with this movie.
All right, so you got to do number 2 still, right?
Yes.
Get to your number 2.
My number 2 is The Princess Bride from 1987.
Never seen that movie.
Highly recommend it. It has comedy. It has action. It has fantasy.
Everybody's been
has
telling me to see this. I've just never seen it.
romance.
I don't know why. When you say Princess Brides, my brain thinks you're talking about Princess Diaries with Anna Faris. And that is not it.
Anna Faris.
Not Anna Faris. Anne Hathaway. My bad.
Okay, I'm like, I don't remember her being
Anne
in that
Hathaway.
movie.
I got the 2 Anns mixed up. My bad.
Okay, yeah. No, it is. They're nothing alike.
I know they are, but when I hear Princess blah blah blah, I think Princess Diaries.
So this is one of the few movies I will not go into spoilers because I really want you specifically to watch this with fresh eyes, not being spoiled. But
it's been on my list of movies that everybody keeps recommending to me.
You need to just sit down with your wife, with your son, watch it as a family watch night. I'm not sure if your son will like it. I liked it as a kid, but knowing
You're also
him,
a weirdo, so
yeah. Well, a lot of people liked it when they were a kid.
You're a weirdo.
But knowing him, I don't know if he'd like it. You and your wife need to just sit down and watch it. It is a great movie. Highly recommend. The one thing I will spoil, and I'm not spoiling it, I'm just going to say the way the movie is told is like the Clue. It is a unique way of doing it, and I wish more movies would.
Okay.
So that would be my number 2.
Okay. So we're down to number 1. Now, you know me so well. I'm
not going to guess. I'm going to get it wrong.
I'm going to say this is not only my favorite 80s movie of all time. This is my favorite movie of all time. Greatest movie ever made. Take a guess. It came out in 1985.
1985?
Yep. I will say it has been mentioned.
Oh, it's been mentioned? Oh, so it's in my list.
Come on,
Back
man.
to the Future, then.
Back to the Future is my favorite movie ever made. Ever made.
Not gonna lie, I thought because number 2 is on my list, I thought we had already talked about
the
Future for
No, when you
list.
mentioned number 2, I go, I can't see a damn thing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Back to the Future is my favorite movie ever made. Honestly, top 3 movies are Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. It's my favorite franchise ever created.
Understandable.
I love these movies. I've probably seen this movie like 20 times.
I think one of my favorite things about this franchise is watching it with people who haven't seen it.
Oh, I never experienced that because everybody I've ever met have seen these movies.
I've experienced it like maybe twice. Yeah, twice. And just seeing people's reactions to the movie, just...
I love watching it. Sorry, go ahead.
It adds a new filter, like a new aspect to it. Like you're seeing it through fresh eyes once again. And it's the closest thing I can get to watching it brand new again.
I love seeing people...
I would love to do that.
I love seeing people's reaction who haven't seen it after 2015. When they're like, 2015, we're going to have flying cars and all this stuff. That's when the world's
floating skateboards.
Yeah, hoverboards. Hell yeah. And it's like 2015 came out and we're like, we can barely get a hoverboard created and it has wheels.
Yeah. Got cyborgs. We've got jetpack skateboards that are actually hoverboard. Like
we got flying cars, time travel. Hell yeah.
We got shoes that will automatically lace themselves and fit your foot perfectly, no matter what size. We have clothes that automatically dry themselves whenever they get wet.
Okay, so speaking of Back to the Future, obviously we're talking about 2 because we're talking about the future.
Yeah,
the
that's
future
all part. That's 2.
But so one of my favorite things from Back to the Future 2 that I wish was real, and it's you take away all the flying cars and all that stuff.
Pizza.
The pizza, yes.
Yeah.
The pizza. They put it in. It's like a little disc. They put it in. 3 seconds later, a fully fucking pizza, and I'm like, that needs to be real, man.
Yeah, fully agree. It is basically any food-related technology and anything that I see. I'm just like, why? I want that as reality.
But getting back to the first one, the first one is my favorite movie because it introduced me to the franchise. I love this is what made me love the idea of going to the 50s. I know that's kind of weird because, with a mindset of a Me Too mindset, 50s is not great. But
yeah, no. Well, to be fair, Me Too mindset's not great for
any genre
anything in the past,
right.
Because no era is great.
But the 50s wasn't nice to, people of color, blacks, women,
yeah,
anybody.
If you're not like us,
if you're not a white man, you suck.
And even man, the 50s, like I love their style.
Yo, that's what I mainly love about the movie. Like when they go back to the 50s, I love this style. I love the way they dressed. I love the way that their cars looked and the way they carried themselves. I loved all that. But it's like you're going through it with goggles of this is a movie goggles, and then you look at like what actually happened in the 50s. Like, no, we don't want that. We want the Back to the Future 50s.
I want to travel back in time to go to the 50s. Read a history book. Never mind.
But hey, going back to the 50s, you would get to see like Elvis and stuff. That'd be cool.
Like my mom liked Elvis.
I love Elvis, dude. I'm 31 years old and I love Elvis.
I love Elvis movies.
Oh, I don't like Elvis movies. I like Elvis music.
His music?
Oh. But no, I love all the characters, like the dad, the mom, how they interact with him. Doc, obviously, is one of the greatest characters in the entire movie. Doc Brown is probably the best character in the entire damn movie, in the entire damn franchise, to be honest. And
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, the way that he interacts with everybody in the past, Biff. I love how Biff was just like this big threat, and then at the end of the movie, he's just like this balding guy. He's like, "I'll wash your car, Mister Fly. Don't worry."
I will say, I just recently rewatched all 3 of the films this week, actually, and it gets me every single time. I'm like, man, this is such a fun and campy movie. Biff's about to try to rape his mom. This is such a fun and campy movie.
Or the fact that his mom really wants to have sex with her son.
Yeah, well, again,
she doesn't know. I know, but
and the moment she does kiss him, she's like, "Oh, this ain't right." Like
this is giving me some Luke Skywalker Leia vibes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, why was Star Wars not mentioned in any honorable mentions?
Gibbs gonna hate us so much.
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back, wasn't that like 93 or 83?
Yeah, no, I think. Yeah.
I didn't put it on my list because I figured you put it on your list.
And that's why I didn't put it on my list, because I thought you're like, oh, I have all these honorable mentions. I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to put it on. Obviously, it's going to be on his.
No, because I'm not the big, I like Star Wars, but I'm not a huge. You're more of a Star Wars fan than I am, Nate.
I specifically put Spaceballs because I figured you were going to put Star Wars, and I was going to riff off it. Like,
when you were mentioning
your Star Wars,
and when you were mentioning your honorable mentions, you mentioned Spaceballs. So I'm like, oh, that means Star Wars is coming. Nothing.
Yeah. It didn't. We really should have planned our honorable mentions a little bit better.
That's all right. But yeah, that's my
mention. Star Wars.
Yeah, that's my number one. Back to the Future is literally the best movie ever made, in my opinion. I can't. Anytime I watch, I was like, I want to watch Back to the Future. That means I'm sitting down and watching all 3 movies. I have to watch them all together. You have to
And for anyone who has not watched it, I imagine there's maybe 2 of you.
Out of the billions of people on this planet.
You have to watch them in order. Do not watch 2 or 3 out of order. Watch 1,
Don't pull a
2,
Die Hard.
and 3. Yeah. Well, Die Hard, there's a mention of it. The Back to the Future movies rely heavily on the storyline.
Yeah, it's a literally continuation.
Movies.
It's a literal continuation.
To the point where the beginning of each movie is the end of each movie.
All right, so we got to wrap this up pretty soon. So let's get to your number 1.
All right, so my number 1 came out in 1988. This movie affected my life to the point where I had dreams of when I was a child of wanting this to happen constantly. I have incorporated it into when I die, I want my sort of burial to happen according to my will like this.
What the hell are you talking about?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
This is your number 1?
Yes.
I've never seen this movie.
I shouldn't be disappointed. I should understand, but my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined because of this.
Never seen it once.
Hearing someone has not watched this movie
Nope.
is just a black mark on cinema history to me. Because this movie blends reality and cartoons seamlessly. And that is it's one of the reasons why I love Kingdom Hearts so much. You blend multiple verses.
Nate, if I want to blend a movie that blends cartoons and reality super well, I'll just watch the new Chip and Dale. That's fine.
That's perfectly fine. I highly recommend that because they do a great job. And a lot of people, I remember back when it first came out, people were trying to compare it to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm like, no, just be happy they've done it again. This is amazing. I love when movies do this.
So why do you like this movie so much?
All right. So first off, I love detective noir characters. I love
Explain
cartoons.
What detective noir is to people that don't know what that is.
Usually detective noirs are like detective movies in black and white. That is set in the 1920s or
okay. So is this movie set in black and white?
No. But it is set in the 1920s to 1950s. I can't remember exactly what.
That's a big jump in genres.
Well, aesthetic much, honestly. The 1920s and 1950s were still very dress suits and speakeasy kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by aesthetics of detective noir. Take the noir out, detective, because the main character is a detective. He is a private detective.
Is he the rabbit?
No, the rabbit is the client, actually.
Oh.
Sort of. Actually,
Nate, how disappointed are you that I don't know any of these people or names?
I am somewhat disappointed, and because I am going to be spoiling this movie.
That's all right.
But also, yeah,
I'm probably never going to watch it, to be honest.
Oh, you will. I will force you to watch this.
Unless we have a review podcast about it, I don't know.
Guess what, buddy? Now that I know you've not watched it, this is my next pick for a movie review.
Guess what? I wouldn't get into spoilers then. If you want my honest opinion about the movie, I wouldn't go into spoilers.
Fine. I won't go into spoilers for this movie. Okay, so how do I do this? I have to get rid of all of the material I had to go in on this.
Better just explain why you like it without explaining the story.
All right. It has always been a dream of mine to be a cartoon.
I thought your dream was to be a werewolf.
A cartoon werewolf.
No, yes. Of course, my bad.
I figured you would have known. No, to be a werewolf, that is my dream of if I was to become cursed with anything, werewolf would be the curse that I want. But ever since I was a child, I have always wanted to be a cartoon. And it's because I love cartoons. I can't help that. I love the media. Love that you can basically be any style that you want. You can draw any character in any style. The possibilities in cartoons are limitless. Who Framed Roger Rabbit blends reality and cartoon. And in my head, that's you are getting closer and closer to my dream. That is amazing. The comedy is gold. The characters
real quick
is amazing.
Didn't Bedknobs and Broomsticks in the 70s also blend cartoons and
reality? But not quite as seamlessly as Who Framed. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that was because of the limited technology.
Exactly. It's not a knock towards them. I'm just saying Who Framed Roger Rabbit did it seamlessly, and like the Chip and Dale movie. That is the style that they did with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that was how long ago?
1980 what?
87, I think. I have it on my phone here. 1988.
Wow, yeah. For being that technology, I'm surprised it did so well.
Exactly. So this, I mentioned my funeral earlier.
No, you sure did.
When I die, I want to be cremated. That is how I plan to be prepared. I want them to take part of my ashes, put it in ink, and draw me as a cartoon character.
What a weird thing to say.
That is my funeral plans. Also, I'm still maintaining the funeral plans of our previous employer together, where you have to take a selfie with me while I'm in my casket.
Okay.
And not explain that to any of the guests because I want you to look like a complete asshole.
Okay.
So, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I can't go any further without spoiling. It is what the reason I liked Kingdom Hearts is because it brought in so many properties together.
Okay.
And that's what Who Framed Roger Rabbit does. It brings in so many properties of cartoons into a living reality. And
then
I'm
Nate,
like,
if you like that so much, you should have loved Space Jam 2.
I did.
I know that movie gets crapped on like crazy.
No, I like Space Jam. I like Space Jam 2. I think Space Jam 2 is as good as Space Jam 1? No. I think it's just below it. But I pretty much I have seen that incorporates cartoons with reality that I do not like. Cool World, the edgier Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Fucking love that movie. It is stupid. It is not a good film, but I love it. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that was the start of it all for me when it came to blending reality and cartoons, and it will always hold a place in my heart. It will forever be my favorite 80s movie.
That's how I feel about Back to the Future. It always holds a little place in my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is my list.
That is a great list. There are things that I do not agree with, and there are things that I do agree with, and I feel like that is same with you.
Yes, very much so.
So, you got anything else to say about 80s movies?
Just that we need more movies that are made today as if they were made in the 80s.
Agreed. So, we actually got some comments. I'm going to go off here first. We have some Facebook comments. You can check it out on our Facebook page at Lime Wolf Podcast. But before I do that, I asked some people at my work because they didn't want to go onto our page for some reason. And Clarence from my work says his favorite movie is The Goonies from 1985, which I'm shocked did not hit an honorable mention.
Honestly, it slipped my mind. I personally didn't like it.
You don't like The Goonies?
No, I'm not a fan of The Goonies.
Okay, everybody in the comment section, attack Nate right now. Get him.
Do it.
Do it.
Bring it.
Get it.
Bring it. I probably won't even see your comments unless they're on YouTube. So, no, I am not a fan of The Goonies. I liked some of the characters, and I liked the adventure idea.
Oh, The Goonies is great, man. The Goonies just missed my honorable mention list.
I watched it when I was younger, and I was just like, huh. Okay. Cool.
That angers me. Okay, so then we have another comment from my friend Adam at my work, and he says his favorite movie is a movie I've never seen from 1983, the movie Scarface.
I have seen that. and it is a great movie. Like, objectively, a great movie. I can respect the movie itself. Personally, I don't like the movie because I don't really enjoy rooting for bad guys.
That makes sense. I've never seen it. I have no opinion on Scarface because I've literally never. I know it spawned a really popular video game.
Yeah, real popular.
Real popular.
But as, like, just looking at it as a movie, great movie.
Oh,
highly
real
recommend
quick.
it.
Speaking of terrible video games based on movies, no one mentioned E.T.
Oh yeah, was that in the 80s though?
I mean, the video game came out in the 80s and it was after the movie, so...
Yeah, I thought ET came in the 70s though.
Did it? I don't remember.
Oh no, yep, it is 82.
Yeah,
Huh.
I know. I've forgotten this, but like I said, I've been watching the Goldbergs and they just mentioned it. The E.T. video game is literally...
Fire.
No, it's literally voted as the worst video game ever created.
It is a...
It is literally buried it in the desert.
Yeah, they have filled a landfill with all the games they made for that.
Oh, that's so funny. So, moving over to our Facebook page, we got a comment from Tammy who says, there are too many wonderful movies to even know where to begin. So I'm going to stick to my favorite genre, sci-fi. You'd appreciate this, Nate. Even then, so many to choose from. How about the Star Trek movies, the Indiana Jones movies, Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, Back to the Future, War Games, Cocoon, and Gremlins. I can't even narrow down to a short list.
Okay. Gremlins, highly... Oh, man, I can't believe that's not on our honorable mentions either.
I'm not a fan of the Gremlins.
The problem... What?
I'm not not a big fan. This is Goonies.
Comments,
this is Goonies, okay? To you.
People in the comments, lambast this guy. No.
Out of Tammy's list, I would say obviously the ones we mentioned, but the ones that we didn't mention, Indiana Jones is great. I've never seen Dark Crystal. I don't think I've ever seen Labyrinth. But I love War Games, we've mentioned that, and I like Cocoon.
Labyrinth, fun film, weird as hell.
She said
what was the other
Star Trek.
Star Trek, great.
Indiana Jones, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Back to the Future, War Games, Cocoon, and Gremlins.
Dark Crystal. Highly recommend it, especially if you are I believe that was a Jim Henson project. Okay. And yeah, highly recommend it because it was a fun... I even think they did a mini-series recently in later years, or recent years, based off of that world. So, yeah, highly recommend Dark Crystal.
And then we got one last comment from Caitlin who says, my favorite 80s movie is The Goonies, Back to the Future, and one that almost made my top 10, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Nice. Damn, that didn't enter honorable
Ferris
mentions
Bueller's
either.
Day Off.
Wait,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off almost overthrew Bill and Ted for me.
How? I thought I put that in my honorable mentions, but I guess I did not.
No, you sure didn't. But yeah.
Oh.
What?
It is on here. I just forgot to check it off apparently.
But yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is absolutely fantastic. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a fun film. Like, again, watch that film is like, I want to be like, this is how smooth.
Over there dancing at like a parade, like,
well, not
singing.
just the dancing. I mean, just the overall, like, I think Ferris Bueller is the movie that kind of inspired my love of con men in movies.
What a terrible thing to like.
Well, like, Ferris Bueller leads me to liking the Ocean movies because Danny Ocean and Rusty are like amazing con guys when it comes to pulling off a heist. Then you go into the John Travolta movie, Be Cool and Get Shorty. He's a loan shark collector, but he's so smooth. He's just the smoothness in a character's personality. Ferris Bueller inspired that. Bueller. He inspired that for me. Like,
yeah, I recently rewatched that with my wife, and Yeah, that movie's great. So yeah, that's all the comments we had. If you are interested in commenting in future podcasts, we have Facebook and Twitter and Discord. All the links are in the description below. And if you're got anything else to say, Nate?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Like I said, links are in the description below, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. See you later.